Hey everyone, welcome back. Ooh, that's a little bright, but it'll make do for now. Or will it? I don't know yet. Hey everyone, welcome back to the most interactive wrestling show on the interweb. Welcome back to Wrestling with Omer. Boy, oh boy, do we have a wonderful show planned for you today. Give me one quick sec to fix this light issue. As is tradition, technical difficulties rule all. That looks much better. Hey everyone. Hopefully everyone's doing great on this wonderful Monday. Hopefully everyone had a restful weekend. One person who may not have had a restful weekend was AEW president, CEO, and everything else, Tony Khan, who had to deal with all these rumors and reports of people asking out of their contracts in AEW, some of which we know did in fact happen, some of which we know may not have happened, and it's got a lot of people talking either way, so we'll talk about that, the tampering allegations of the WWE as well. We got the White Rabbit, who was in the chat since the other day, saying, hey, you can't kill a demon on a full moon when it's when it's red. Find out 9/26 only if you let the door open. White Rabbit also went on to say the same thing over and over again, and also said that what comes from the underground, it smells your by heart. I don't know. I did not watch SmackDown on Friday, so if this is, I know that the White Rabbit tease happened. I know about that, but I did not watch SmackDown, so maybe you're hinting something towards that. But either way, MGT is also here. MGT, White Rabbit. We got everyone here enjoying this wonderful Monday stream. So I'll touch on the Bray Wyatt stuff in a second, because at this point, it's all but guaranteed that Bray Wyatt will return to WWE. I think it's just a matter of when people think that that's going to happen. I think that the likeliest scenario is it's going to happen at Extreme Rules in some manner. The really interesting thing for me is going to be who exactly he targets in his return. Like how vague they leave that open, how open-ended that's going to be. But I'll discuss that in a little bit, guys. Be sure to get your questions in as well. Hit that like button if you haven't already. YouTube.com/Real Take Wrestling for those of you watching on the stream. If you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, be sure to leave a 5-star review. So I want to discuss the AEW elephant in the room. So we've heard rumblings from Fightful in the past that there were people who had asked out of their contract. WWE apparently were reaching out to several wrestlers, and it's not looking good, I think, for any future partnerships or otherwise between AEW and WWE, because when Triple H first came in, there was this thought that Tony Khan and Triple H might be able to do some sort of business together. They had already been doing some of these one-off things like the John Cena 20th anniversary thing that Jericho, Bryan Danielson, and a few other people shot those videos for. They had been working on documentaries. I know the Dusty Rhodes A&E documentary is coming out soon, and apparently there were some talent who were asked to be a part of that because Dusty had a big impact on a lot of their lives. Dustin Rhodes, Goldust, the former Goldust, I should say, of course, the natural Dustin Rhodes was a part of that as well. So there was this room, I think, with Vince McMahon and his mentality out of the way to potentially have some sort of partnership. That doesn't mean that you're going to have like a super show like Forbidden Door, but it also doesn't mean that that's out of the realm of possibility. Right now, I think the chances of that happening are very low, because we know that AEW had apparently reached out to multiple talents, or sorry, WWE, I should say, had reached out to multiple talents who were under AEW contract. I'll just read this aggregation from Cade's Side Seats right here. It says, quote, since Triple H took over talent relations and creative for WWE, we've seen the return of several wrestlers who were released over the past couple of years. We also heard that they weren't letting the fact that some of those talents are under contract with AEW stop them from talking to them about a reunion. WWE is said to have spoken to multiple AEW wrestlers, prompting Tony Khan and his legal team to send Triple H and the company a warning. Of course, that was one of the topics of a talent meeting a few weeks ago, right before All Out, that took place backstage at AEW, where Tony Khan announced that the chief legal officer had sent a letter to both Stephanie McMahon and Nick Khan, the co-CEOs of World Wrestling Entertainment, a cease and desist, essentially. Not a cease and desist, but a letter telling them to stop tampering or there will be legal action against them. The aggregation from Cage Side Seats goes on to say, reports and speculation focus on Malachi Black asking AEW to release him from his contract after talking to WWE, but according to Dave Meltzer, Black was not the only one. Now, here's what Meltzer had to say. When Paul Levesque took over from Vince McMahon, WWE contacted a number of former WWE talents that were working there being AEW, that either had left on their own or Vince McMahon had fired. Black was not the only person who asked for his release at the time. This has prompted a lot of people to speculate on who the other people may be. One of the people who was speculated to be this person who had potentially asked for his release from AEW was the Buddy Matthews, the former Buddy Murphy in WWE. And he kind of responded very fondly on Twitter, fondly enough. He pretty humorously, I should say, that he responded that with a gif of Seinfeld saying "fake" over and over again. So he's refuting those claims, but also you gotta think he's working them a little bit. You know, wrestling's always a little bit of a work. But yeah, so there's a lot of interesting things that are happening. I think that WWE, honestly, what they're doing right now is they know that the momentum is on their side. Like, here's the reality of the situation. WWE knows that momentum from a product standpoint, from a presentation standpoint, from a hype standpoint, from everything. The needle is shifting towards WWE's favor as far as who's the hotter entity right now, right? For a very long time, it was AEW. It was because it was new. It was constantly bringing in stars. The way they innovated during the pandemic was way better than WWE's innovation in the eyes of many fans. And also, AEW literally kicked one of their programs off of TV or off of that night on TV. You want to say it was the C show like Triple H does? You're right. It was the C show, but that C show was also on the network prior to that. So like literally a week prior to AEW having their first ever Dynamite, WWE trots out their NXT on the WWE on the actual television on USA Network, and you know we're supposed to expect like they didn't care. Come on, like it's one thing to say that it's going to draw less views than Raw or SmackDown, which is true. It is true because Raw and SmackDown are 20-year-long entities that have an identity, that had an audience, both of which were alive during the hottest period of wrestling in the 90s. Of course, they are going to have long-term success even after they've been crap for a few years. That's the God-honest truth. NXT, to the general public, was still a fairly new product. And people want to judge that. Go ham, do it. But to act like the WWE did not care about beating AEW in the ratings when they were the ones who put the show on Wednesday night in the first place, it's just ludicrous in my opinion. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree, think, oh, the AEW should not have had a program on Wednesday nights if they knew the WWE also had a program on Wednesday nights on a WWE network. Well, guess what? If you're AEW, what are you going to do? You're going to go on Thursday nights? You can't go on Thursday nights. You can't go on Tuesday nights. You're not going on Monday nights. You're not going on Friday nights. Wednesday night's the only night you can really do it. Anyway, so we'll come back to that. That was a bit of a side rant. We got a few chats in here that I missed. We got MGT saying, of course you didn't watch SmackDown. I don't watch SmackDown. You're right. I watched Raw. Raw was good. I liked Raw. Raw was fine. Didn't watch SmackDown, though. I have better things to do on my Friday night than watch wrestling. I mean, that's what I do usually on Saturdays. But I didn't get a chance to because I was traveling. That's the God honest truth. I was traveling. We got MGT in the chat saying, White Rabbit, do you know why Bray Wyatt didn't win? And White Rabbit says, I see Triple H doing another swerve and just playing White Rabbit at the Extreme Rules with no Wyatt. Commentary will say that there has been a lot of White Rabbits recently during live events teasing Wyatt. If they're that's the thing though. If they actually play White Rabbit, the song at Extreme Rules, that's gonna be a really cool thing because I think that's like if you're not going to have Bray debut or return, I should say, on that night on Extreme Rules, then playing the music I think is just as good because we haven't seen the music played on television because of the copyright issues and things like that. But that would give me the indication that they've gone all in on that. We got the White Rabbit saying that Buddy Matthews can't say anything yet. He's still in contract he's under contract by AEW at the moment. Yeah, but I think him kind of refuting those claims, like he did say something. That's the thing. He did not say anything. If he had not said something, it would have been different. But he did say something, and he hinted towards the fact that no, he is not, in fact, asking for his release from AEW, at least not at this time that we know of. White Rabbit says, MGT, I think he lost because Tony Khan thought he would hit a bigger rating instead of Bryan. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was a rating thing. I think at the end of the day, they were put in a weird situation when the whole CM Punk Elite thing happened, because now it looks like CM Punk is going to be gone from the company, and that was your AEW World Champion. That was your World Champion, and you built up this feud, and the idea of this feud between MJF and CM Punk, because MJF is the guy who won the Casino ladder match. And the second MJF won that ladder match, AEW's hands were tied. You either had to, and I think like this is like as much. I'm a huge Bryan fan. I want to say this. I'm a huge Bryan fan, biggest Bryan fan in the world. I was upset at that result, but I also understood why they were doing what they were doing. You want to cement Jon Moxley as the greatest AEW World Champion ever. Done. You also want MJF, whenever he decides to cash in that poker chip, to beat the guy who is legitimately the heart and soul of this company. They have a story going with Bryan and the ROH World title. That's fine. That's fine enough. I don't think it had anything to do with ratings. I just think it had to do with what they were trying to achieve in that moment, given the cards that were already on the table, because they were dealt a pretty limited hand, if we're being honest. And I think MJF versus Jon Moxley is a feud they could very easily go to anytime they want. And we're probably going to get that match in some capacity, whether it's a pre-announced main event for Full Gear, or whether he just cashes in Cincinnati in a few weeks. Who knows? We got the White Rabbit saying, just like Miro said, he was not heading back to WWE. Yeah, Miro, I don't think is heading back to WWE. If you take a look at a recent podcast he did with Renee Paquette, he really likes the fact that in AEW he can make really good money, only work like a few days a week, and he has that time to pursue other passions. He talked about how he's getting into real estate. He's doing all these other things. He's pursuing his other passions. He obviously does Twitch a lot. And I think that freedom would not exist in WWE, not only with the Twitch thing, to the extent it would with AEW, because WWE would still try to get a little bit of a cut of the profits there. But with like the real estate thing, he just wouldn't have the time for it, because WWE tours like all the time, like 5 days a week they're touring. So you're spending 5 days a week on the road compared to AEW, where you're spending like maximum like 2, if there's a pay-per-view, 3 days a week on the road or something like that. MGT says, it's not that Bryan did not because Tony did not want him. Sorry, I just lost that chat. I don't know what happened there. Here we go. MGT says, it's not that Bryan did not because Tony did not want his first reign to be that short. I think that's also part of it. I mean, when Bryan Danielson wins the AEW World title, I think it should be kind of a very special thing, and not something that's just kind of a flash in the pan type of situation. White Rabbit says, bruh, Mox been champion multiple times. He has the GCW belt. Let him drop the AEW belt. I mean, he's going to drop it. He's going to drop it. Mox will drop it. I guarantee he's going to drop it to MJF at some point very soon. MGT says, Mox is a transitional champion. He's going to drop it to MJF. Yep, exactly. Tomorrow, Tony Khan thinks he's going to beat Monday Night Raw in the ratings tomorrow, which is ridiculous. I mean, look, as long as football season's going on, AEW as far as the key demo, 100% has a chance to beat WWE Monday Night Raw in the ratings. I think that's just true. For 16 weeks out of the year, yeah, they definitely have a very good chance of doing that. And I think most weeks they'll actually accomplish that. Because if you look at Grand Slam last week, #1 show on cable television. If we're talking about overall viewers, then no, AEW is not in a position to do that. But if we're talking about the key demo, which dictates what advertisers think, which dictates how the ratings actually come out. Because if here's the thing, the highest rated shows on television are not the shows that get the most amount of total viewers. That's a small part of it. The highest rated shows on television are the people in that 18 to 49 demographic. That's what all these websites, the Nielsen ratings, that's what they take into account when they rank who's the highest rated program. That's why AEW more often than not is one of, if not the most high rated program on Wednesday nights. I mean, Raw too. It's just I think comparing them is fun, right? I think comparing them is fun to be like, oh man, AEW like getting a little momentum here, but you also have to remember Monday Night Raw is going up against Monday Night Football, which is just a monstrosity in its own right as far as what it means for other shows on television. It just destroys everything else. Everyone's watching it. I'm going to watch it later on tonight, guys. Monday Night Football, youtube.com/Real Take Sports. Join me for a live stream watch along for that. That's going to be a lot of fun tonight. We got White Rabbit in the chat saying, I think he's just going to... Oh, sorry. I missed the chat there. Sorry about that. I'm sorry. I'm trying to go through these as fast as I can. We're just having trouble here because I'm also getting work messages. The life of a YouTuber. We got MGT in the chat saying that I feel like Extreme Rules is the ideal place for Bray Wyatt to return. I mean, it's his show, the horror show at Extreme Rules. That's his show. White Rabbit says that I think he's just going to be for 2022, then bring him back at Double or Nothing as the Joker to face MJF as a champion. Are you talking about CM Punk? Oh, I think you think the Punk suspension is a work. So, White Rabbit, I will tell you this. From the people that I know personally, as well as the just everything that's gone on, no, this is not a work. CM Punk and the Elite got into a legitimate fight. It was not a work. He had planned out what he was going to say about Colt Cabana beforehand because he was angry about it and he wanted to go off. And he did just that. Fists were thrown, people were bitten, and it was not a good situation overall. And they are currently working, according to the reports, that they are currently working on a buyout of CM Punk's contract, they being AEW. Yeah, MGT says not everything's a work. But White Rabbit says, I'm not believing it until Tony Khan says it. I mean, you're going to be waiting a long time. I don't think Tony Khan's going to talk about this for a very long time, if ever. If ever. I mean, this is... It's like this has been a PR nightmare for AEW. I mean, look, the ratings got a little bit of a boost, right? But from a PR standpoint, it's not... I mean, it wasn't great. It wasn't great because you're Tony Khan. You have to answer to your TV partners. You have to answer to the fans who saw that mess of a thing go down. I mean, it was not great. And I understand. Here's the thing. When it first happened, when I was watching that thing, I didn't think the Colt Cabana thing was a work at all. Like, I mean, the Colt Cabana... Okay, if we really want to get into this for a second, the Colt Cabana thing, 100% not a work at all. Not a work. Like, absolutely not. CM Punk does not like Colt Cabana. That much is true. We've known that for years. And it was on full display why at that press conference. And as far as the fight with the Elite, we know for a fact that did happen. I can tell you from people that I know. I can tell you from people that, I mean, just trustworthy sources. I know that White Rabbit, you just said Sean Ross Sapp and Wrestling Observer are part of it. That's not true. Again, everyone's entitled to their own opinion about that. It's just not true. Like Sean Ross Sapp and Sean Ross Sapp most certainly is the most trusted journalist when it comes to wrestling news and having the insight on this news and the inside track on it. I'm very, very confident, like 99.999999999 with a bar over it, percent sure that this is not a work. Again, is it going to be a thing where it could become a shoot, or is it going to be a thing where it could become a work down the line? Sure, because like look at anything. Eventually, the Montreal Screwjob turned into a work. And it took 13 years, but it turned into a work and an eventual WrestleMania match between Vince McMahon and Bret Hart. It's just true. The White Rabbit says Sean Ross Sapp has helped them get MJF over when he reported Goldberg was in the Double or Nothing building and left after. I don't know about the Goldberg thing. I don't know where the Goldberg thing happened. Yeah, I'm not sure about the Goldberg. I don't know. I'm not sure what you're referring to there, but with the MJF stuff, as far as I know, I do know that MJF no-showed that event, the meet and greet, and it was not like he was trying to get heat with the fans. He was legitimately pissed off at AEW, and then the plan wasn't really to have him back until he had a meeting with Tony Khan the night or the day after Double or Nothing 2022, and they kind of hashed out their differences. They agreed that he would go on vacation or whatever. He would go away for a bit, and that's exactly what he did. Now he's back, and he's doing what MJF does, which is be the most manipulative person on AEW television there is. So there's that. We got MGT in the chat saying, Omer, Saraya said she believes she can compete, but AEW hasn't cleared her. So, yeah, that's a thing. That was also a thing that happened this week. Paige here, Saraya made her debut for AEW Grand Slam. That was cool. It was really cool when she debuted. Like, I just geeked out. I marked out. If you guys want to see my reaction to that, go ahead. It's in the archives by itself. It's its own separate video where I just geeked out about Paige being back. But the whole thing with whether or not she gets cleared or is she good to compete or what have you, it's a sticky situation, especially when you get into the legality of stuff, because AEW at the end of the day wants to ensure two things, right? Ideally, they want to ensure two things. Number one, they want to make sure that whatever they're doing, they keep the talent safe. Number two, they don't want to be liable for Paige getting seriously injured in the ring. And by seriously injured, I mean they don't want her to get paralyzed potentially with the type of neck injury she has. They don't want her to suffer some sort of long-term serious damage to her neck or any further than there's already been. Like those are the two main concerns from a legal standpoint for AEW. That's why I think it's kind of being held up whether or not she's going to be cleared. Regardless of that, having Paige on your television program, having Saraya on your television program is a lot better than not having Saraya on your television program. That's just the God's honest truth. And ensuring that she gets this kind of time that, one, she deserves, and the other people get the time that they deserve as well alongside her to tell good stories should be the priority for AEW here. Because they have not done a great job, if we're being honest, of highlighting the women as much as they should, as well as they should. And it really shows in a television program because it almost feels, it at least feels like to me, they're kind of being tokened. We got, we got the White Rabbit talking about Saraya and Xavier. That's not a thing. Like they're fine. I'm pretty sure like they've been on what was that show they used to do on FS1, the like Inside WWE, whatever that show was on FS1 with Renee Paquette and Paige and CM Punk that they used to do. Whatever that was, I'm pretty sure they were on it for. That's like ancient history. Like that video has, I think, very little to do with anything. When you think about the people that they brought in, like Scarlett Bordeaux, come on, like Scarlett Bordeaux, like has done some stuff. Like I mean, like, and it's not bad. Like none of that is bad. Like I mean, as far as I'm trying to choose my words carefully here. Here's the thing, right? It is very little, to me, it's very little different there's very little difference, I should say, between that situation and Seth Rollins having explicit pictures of him leaked online. That that happened. That was a thing that happened, and it happened to Seth Rollins. People wanted to make a big deal of it at the time. What happened? The dude won the title like 4 more times after that, won Money in the Bank right after that. It didn't really affect his career. It didn't really affect Soraya's career. I think there were other things that affected Soraya's career, and most notably and most recently, her neck injury. So that had very little, if anything, to do with any of that. Like, if she was cleared and she didn't have that injury, she would be wrestling in WWE right now. Guarantee. It has nothing to do with the video. It's got nothing to do with Xavier Woods. They're fine. WWE even referenced it on TV before. They've referenced it on TV in that rap battle between the New Day and the Usos. So it's got very little to do with that. MGT says, is Paige going to book the women's division? No, I believe that. I mean, booking is still going to be on Tony Khan. Like, Tony Khan is going to be booking everything. He's made that abundantly clear. I do think you're going to have people who are going to have more input. I would hope someone like Velvet Sky, who just came in, is going to come in and kind of help things out and help move things along and highlight the women in a proper way and give her own perspective into those types of things, because she's been around for a while. She's seen good women's booking. She's been seen really bad women's booking. And I think she would kind of know and be a good person to be a little bit of a filter for maybe Tony Khan. We got Mahesh in the chat. Welcome, Mahesh, saying, Saraya is happy. That's all. AJ Lee and Saraya were the only female wrestlers I've praised to this date. Only? You're done Becky Lynch? Bianca Belair? Charlotte. I get why. Look, Charlotte, to me, I love Charlotte, right? I want to be clear about this. I love Charlotte. Charlotte, to me, is like it's like this generation's version of Randy Orton, in that everything she does is really good. Sometimes very great. Like, she's an elite talent. I just don't know what it is. I get kind of bored. I get kind of bored. I don't know what it is. It's like it's Randy Orton. Sasha Banks is MGT just put in a great one. Like, you tell me you don't, Mahesh, you tell me you don't, you've never praised Sasha Banks? I mean, she's pretty good. I mean, again, to each their own. AJ Lee and Saraya are two of the best to ever do it, right? But I don't know. Sorry about eating on the stream. Got to get my snack on. Anyway, guys, if you have not already, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. We got a few minutes left on the stream, a little shorter than usual, a few minutes left on this podcast if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. MGT says, Charlotte rubs people the wrong way. Here's the thing. I cannot put my finger on it. I legitimately cannot put my finger on the thing about Charlotte, because I'm not one of these. I know there's a lot of people out there who hate Charlotte, who are just like, oh, she has go away heat with me. She doesn't even have go away heat with me. It's the same. The only way I can explain it is it's the same thing with Randy Orton, in that if I watch a Randy Orton or a Charlotte match, I know it's going to be good. I know it's going to, it could be very good. It could be great. But at the same time, very rarely am I ever excited for a Charlotte or a Randy Orton match, if that makes sense. She's literally this generation's Randy Orton. Like, makes it look easy, great in the ring, pretty good on promos when she wants to be. It's just, I don't know what it is. I really don't. That being said, to me, all those people aside, you can't not praise Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch literally, if you're talking about someone who has made an impact over the past number of years, Becky Lynch has. Like, she went from being like a person who people really wanted to be good to the GOAT, like the GOAT, so quick. And I cannot wait till she beats Ronda Rousey at the main event of WrestleMania 39. Oh my God, it's WrestleMania 39 already. That's crazy. I remember first WrestleMania I watched live was WrestleMania 20. I was so young back then. That's crazy. 20 years. Wild. Guys, what was your first WrestleMania? Let me know in the chat. We're heading down the home stretch, by the way. We're gonna try to wrap this up in the next 8 or so minutes. So be sure to get your questions, comments, concerns in before we end this stuff. Quickly circling back to AEW and this and these WWE releases and things like that. Or WWE tampering. I do think the WWE, in a way, just kind of wants to do it to flex because they know realistically they can afford to get into a bit of a legal issue or a legal battle with AEW and not really have it matter, because at the end of the day, is AEW going to be able to prove that WWE in an official capacity reached out to these people? Maybe. But is it going to be something that WWE I don't think can fight? Yeah, because it's not like you're going to have messages from talent relations from Triple H or Bruce Pritchard on their work emails going hey, MJF, or hey, Buddy Matthews, Malachi Black, do you want to come back to WWE? No, I mean, it's obviously done in some different ways, back channels and things like that. So I doubt that we're going to get... I doubt that that's going to be too much of an issue. I legitimately think that WWE is just trying to test the waters, piss off Tony Khan a little bit, test the waters with who wants to come back whenever their contracts are up, and try to get those people out of their contracts early if they can. They're just playing the game. We got MGT asking, who is Velvet Sky again? Velvet Sky is is honestly a legend. I think it's fair to say she's a legend in the women's wrestling scene. She came to prominence in the 2000s with TNA, now known as Impact Wrestling. She was one member of the Beautiful People. She, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure she was, at one point at least, also dating Bully Ray, which is, what a match. That's a Beauty and the Beast match if I've ever seen one. Big shout out to Bully Ray. Don't ever hurt me for saying that. But yeah, no. But no, she's a really good. She was a really good wrestler. Good personality. The Beautiful People was one of the most over acts in TNA history. So yeah, I mean, she's just she's a veteran who's seen a lot, done a lot, and kind of knows the business. And they brought her in an unofficial capacity. Mahesh brings up another beautiful person, or one member of the Beautiful People, Angelina Love. Yes, Angelina Love, who was for a long time the leader of the Beautiful People in TNA. Absolutely. Big shout out to Angelina Love, Velvet Sky, even you, Lacey Von Erich. Big shout out to Lacey Von Erich as well. Guys, hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Again, we're about to wrap things up on this quick podcast. We're just talking, shooting the breeze, and seeing what you guys want to discuss. Oh, here we go. This is some news here. Buddy Matthews saying he needs to go away for a while. Oh, here we go. That's interesting. So Buddy Matthews stepping away from the ring for a little bit. Guess I was wrong. Who knows? We'll see. But yeah, it really is the big news. AEW talent wanting to join WWE. And that's a natural thing to happen if we're being completely honest with ourselves. It's a very natural thing to happen. When people see that the biggest wrestling company in the world is no longer run by an egomaniacal not even power hungry, an egomaniacal maniac like Vince McMahon, who changes his mind on a dime, who you could argue very well is a danger to many of the employees he was around, considering what's come out about him. A guy who legitimately doesn't understand wrestling, to Triple H, who for the longest time was the bright spot in WWE's terrible booking in the 2010s. If Triple H is the guy in charge and I can make that WWE money, I can be showcased on WWE's platforms, on Peacock, everywhere, why wouldn't you want to go there? I mean, again, there's some people who would, some people who wouldn't. I think that the people who would are pretty clear, but I also think there's like Cody really did open the door, I think, to fans thinking that this was more possible than they originally thought it was. Because, I mean, Cody was like the one guy who everyone was like, no, he'll never jump ship back to WWE. And he did. And look, don't be surprised if Omega and the Bucks end up doing that someday. And it has nothing to do with the fight with CM Punk. It has nothing to do with that. See, remember this. Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and Cody Rhodes, before AEW started in January of 2019, were all offered big deals, mega deals by WWE to join WWE and be showcased as stars. That was the plan. That was what they were offered. Triple H was the guy who made the big push for them. Instead, the four of them bet on themselves, helped start AEW, and look, make no bones about it. AEW doesn't start without those guys. Like, we want to say that their EVP titles should probably be taken away. I can agree with that. We want to say that they probably shouldn't be booking, and I would agree with that, and in a lot of a sense. But at the same time, without those guys, without those four guys, and the hype that they had built around themselves, the hype they had built around All In, the fact that they had made All In a real thing and a profitable thing, and shown that wrestling can be profitable, alternative wrestling to WWE can be profitable. If you have that plan set out, then absolutely, you can make it happen. So they were the catalyst for that. You needed those guys. Because there was an audience for it. There was an audience that was interested in seeing it, who maybe had not seen it before, but had heard the rumblings of All In, of Kenny Omega, who once they saw like this product on their television screen, they're like, oh wow, okay, cool. Let me check it out. Let's see what this is about. And it's turned into a very successful entity. And it's not called here's the thing. It's not called All Championship Wrestling. What's it called? It's called All Elite Wrestling. It's literally built on Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and Cody Rhodes. Now, at this point, you could argue that it has outgrown them. At this point, and when I say outgrown them, that does not mean that they don't need to be showcased on television. That does not mean that. But what it does mean is, if they weren't, AEW will still survive, because they were crucial in the beginning. They could still be crucial now, but they were really needed in the beginning of the company to start things. Guys, we're about to wrap up in just a minute. Guys, if you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Mahesh says Kenny Omega needs to join WWE. It's time. Hey, I wouldn't hate some of those matches. I just don't know. I think Kenny Omega, the thing with him is he's really enjoying the video game stuff he gets to do with AEW, and I think that's a passion of his, and I'm not sure if he'll get similar opportunities with WWE. MGT says CM Punk is the reason AJ Lee left WWE and retired. I think there were other reasons. I mean, look, having your husband fired on your wedding day, not a great thing. And doesn't necessarily endear you, but to that company, but that's what happened. MGT says Buddy Matthews has 1 foot out the door. He might. We got MGT also saying how long has Velvet Sky been wrestling? Believe she debuted in the early 2000s, if I'm not mistaken. I'll just do a quick Google search. Yep, 2003 she made her debut. She's been wrestling, or she was wrestling for nearly 20 years. That's crazy. Yeah. So that's Velvet Sky. Guys, this has been a great show. Thank you so much for joining. MGT, Mahesh, the White Rabbit, everybody else who joined in. Thank you, guys. It's always fun to do these. If you haven't already, be sure to head on over to youtube.com/Real Take Wrestling and subscribe for all your wrestling-related needs. Also, if you're feeling like you need some place to watch Monday Night Football, but you're not really feeling the game, you don't want to watch the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants go head-to-head. You don't need to hear Joe Buck's very monotoned voice. At 8 p.m., check out Monday Night Football with me. I'm gonna be reacting to it. We're gonna be having fun breaking it down. Might even be a call in from a Giants fan, angry Giants fan. So I put the link though in the chat as well. YouTube.com/Real Take Sports for that. We're gonna be doing that. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So be sure to check us out over there. But everybody, thank you so much. Wrestling is wild, wacky, and always fun. Until next time, keep it real.